Hey guys, Andrew and Tyler here with Samson Pro. One of the lessons that we want to talk about today is going to be barricade shooting. There's a lot of different techniques and different styles of barricades out there, so what we're going to do is touch on a couple different techniques with a couple different styles of barricades, and should get the foundation level of the concept of using a barricade to support your rifle and some of your body weight.
Also, remember that this is going to be totally geared towards competition shooting today. The way that you would manipulate cover and concealment might be totally different from the kind of stuff we're going to talk about today. Today's focus totally on giving a shooter the most advantageous platform possible in a competition setting.
All right, the first barricade that we're going to look at is pretty common as far as you have a flat surface that's about X high off the ground. Now this could be the same concept as a barricade with a window in it that happens to have a flat surface. One of the things that you always want to check with a barricade is push or pull. Is it, in order to stabilize the barricade itself also, because generally speaking they're going to move a little bit, is it going to be better for me to push against that barricade, or is it going to be better for me to pull against that barricade? Now both ways you can use with this style of barricade resting. All right, so one of the things that we want to talk about first is how not to use the barricade. Now, the concept of the barricade is not just to hold the weight of the rifle out at the muzzle. The concept of barricade shooting is to clamp your rifle to something. So, Tyler, go ahead and give us a bad barricade setup. See, as you see right now, he's simply resting the barricade, the rifle on a barricade right here, but all his body movement up and down is going to be moving his sights around on the target. He's not going to be stable at all. Not to mention the barricade's moving back and forth. So what we want to do is we want to get ourselves into a position where we can clamp all that stuff ultimately to the ground, really, is ground it all. So he just took his hand there and put it kind of into a C shape, and he pushed it up against the barricade. Now what that's going to do is he's got his weight leaning into the rifle right here, and he's got his rifle clamped down to the barricade, and that forward weight is then clamping the barricade to the ground as we're pushing against the whole barricade. So as you see there, it's a lot sturdier. You know, he's not moving around near as much, and he's going to be able to get a good sight picture and a good trigger squeeze, which is he's going to be able to call his shot downrange.
Okay, now alternately, depending on how the barricade's set up, guys, you can also go ahead and slide this rifle all the way forward and kind of double the amount of surface area that you have in contact with the barricade. If I can get my magazine and my magazine well all the way up against this barricade, I can also use that as something that'll help reduce this amount of tipping that's going on with the rifle. So we'll show you how approaching the barricade looks and taking a couple shots at some steel downrange.
Shooter ready? Stand by. Beep. Good. Yeah, that was good. Now, if you noticed, very, very stable, but it was fast to get into and out of that position. Did you see you were able to call your shots?
Yep.
Every time you knew exactly where it was going to go when you squeezed that trigger?
Yep. That's
good. That's what you want. All right, so that style there that you just saw, like I said, was very fast in, very fast out. Now, that's for, generally speaking, a mid-range, maybe 150, 200-yard target or whatever that maybe smaller, and if there's a couple of them. This style here with getting that magazine well up against the barricade is just it's gonna take a little bit longer, but you generally want to use this if there's like 4 or 5 little bit longer range targets out there that the transition between them is where you're gonna make your time up. So this time he's gonna get that mag well slammed all the way up against that barricade, and you're gonna see just how rock solid that ends up being. Shooter ready? Beep! All right, so you guys noticed how he was able to get that gun and the mag well slammed all the way up against, and then the pressure going forward also stabilized the barricade and grounded it. And what he was doing was actually vicing the rifle between his shoulder and the barricade. Now, one thing you have got to pay attention to on that, if you lean too hard into it, now making small adjustments with your rifle is going to be harder. So you might have to, if you can't get quite on target and you need to bring your muzzle up a little bit or down, you might have to back off your clamp just a little bit in order to be able to move that muzzle. But ultimately it is extremely rock solid, and definitely take advantage of that. All right, now those are a couple different ways of using a horizontal style barricade. Clearly your footwork is definitely going to play a role. If the barricade was lower, you're going to need to crouch. If you can go kneeling, you go kneeling. But the concept is the horizontal. Now let's talk about a vertical style barricade. What we have here is the side of the horizontal barricade as well, but we're going to pretend that we can't use the top of this. So we're going to need to stabilize off the side of this because this is grounded, and so now we're going to do the same thing concept as what we did up here. Now, a couple different ways of doing this as far as your footwork and everything go, but for the point of it is clamping the rifle to the side of the vertical barricade. Now, another part that you throw in here is stabilizing your body because you want to be grounded as much as you possibly can because we're grounding the rifle good and grounded, and now we want to ground our body. So doing a reverse knee in this situation is a good idea because it's going to take up all the play that your body's going to have leaning into it. So we're going to throw the rifle up, clamp it to the wall, and then stabilize our elbow on our knee.
We want to make sure that we get enough of the barrel out past the barricade so that our muzzle device isn't interfering with the trajectory of the bullet at all. So when you see me approach the barricade, I'm going to try to get this muzzle device out past the barricade so we don't get any interference there.
Beep! Now, same thing with using the barricade horizontally. Generally speaking, it's going to be for a little bit longer targets, a little bit harder targets to shoot at, and it's going to be worth your time to get into that good solid position in order to transition from target to target and then get out of that shooting array. What Tyler did there, you saw his hand came over top of the rifle in a C shape like this here. His palm grounded itself on the barricade, at which he was also pushing forward on the barricade, which stabilizes it, and he was leaning into his fingers with the rifle in between him and squeezing his C-clamp like this, which is drawing that rifle nice and tight against the side of the barricade. All right, now we're going to mix it up just a little bit and show opportunities with horizontal and vertical barricade stabilization at the same time, such as this barricade we have right here. We have horizontal, and then we have a vertical. Now again, it's loose, so we're going to have to ground the barricade as well as ourselves and the rifle. Now, anytime you get an opportunity to go for a V-notch such as this here, which is there again the vertical coming into horizontal, if you're left-handed or right-handed, you can choose which side of the barricade you want to go off of. And as a right-handed shooter, my best position is going to be the left side of this, so I can slam that up against there with my left hand. Now, if I had to go to the right side, I would pull the rifle into the vertical barricade just as I would that we showed earlier on the vertical, and get on a reverse kneel. But go ahead, Tyler, and show them how the V block style.
Now, one of the other things we wanted to mention with this barricade is you guys can't see how high this is off the ground, but it's fairly low. So where before we were able to take a natural shooting position with my right hand, with my right leg up, here I'm getting a little too low for me to get into a comfortable shooting stance. I'm kind of have to contort myself a little more awkwardly in order to establish a weld. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop to a double kneeling position here, and this allows me to squat my butt down, and now I can adjust my elevation with my hips here, and that's going to be a little more advantageous for this barricade being that it's lower to the ground.
Now if you see here, he's got his rifle pinned up this direction against the vertical and clamped down against the horizontal, and that's going to give you the tightest clamp onto that style of barricade. Shooter ready? Beep! Good. Now again, part of that to think about is also being able to get out of that position. So whenever you go double kneeling, all you're going to want to do is throw your body backwards just a little bit so you can roll up on your toes and then stand right back up again, and that's going to give you a good way to get out of that. Are you feeling all right, dude?
Yeah, a little chilly out here, but I'm good.
Yeah, you're not moving quite as smoothly or as fast as you were when we started filming for some reason. Strange. Anyhow, last barricade that we're going to talk about today is going to be it's a lot of different ways they could set this kind of barricade up in a match. It's a wire wheel, and there's a bunch of different things to look at about a wire wheel, and depending on which direction they have it facing on a stage is going to tell you how you're going to navigate that. As we have this one here, it is pretty much well pointed right down range with the center. So one thing to think about when you're approaching this barricade is what length magazine do you have? Are you running a 30 rounder or do you have like a 48 rounder in there? Reason that is because the curve of the wheel comes around and your magazine is going to contact that in a different spot. So you're, depending on what you got going on with the magazine, you might not be able to get your muzzle here without contacting your magazine at the bottom of your mag, so on and so forth. So Tyler, go ahead and show us what this is going to do with your rifle with that magazine in it.
Yeah, one of the other things I'm going to do too is, as you see me approach the barricade here, I'm going to get my magazine up against it, but my targets are spread out just a little bit to the left here, so I'm going to try to get myself positioned as far to the right of this barricade as I can. One of the reasons for that is I can use the edge of this barricade to stabilize my body a little more. The other reason is the wings on this barricade here present an issue for optics clearance or height over bore problems. If I'm working left on these row of targets and I were to approach a target that's far to the left towards the wing of this barricade, I conceivably might be able to see a target that my muzzle can't clear. And in a lot of matches, that could end up being a match DQ if you put a round through this barricade. It's an unsafe shooting condition and it could send you home for it. So just make sure you take that into account as well. But I'm approach this barricade on the right-hand side. My magazine is planted up against the rounded edge here. And I got my elevation right and my body's stabilized off the right side of this barricade.
Shooter ready? Bon chance. Beep! Now, just with any other barricade, understanding your exit strategy is just as important as getting into it so you can move on to the next array of targets fast. One other thing I want to look at on this style of barricade is going more of a standing, because this is tall. And there's when you're walking a stage and seeing a barricade such as this, in this particular positioning, you can actually be able to get on top of this and get your your magazine to the right or left side of the barricade. Now, if it were straight on line with the target, it's going to be hard because my magazine is going to want to hit here. But in this particular case, he's going to be able to get his rifle on top of this, and the magazine is going to clear the right side of the wheel. All right, Tyler, go ahead and get your rifle up there and show us what we're talking about. Now, as you see here, he can get his magwell, the lower receiver, against the corner of this, and that's a good spot if you had to take a real precise shot to be able to wedge the rifle and pull it against that barricade. So now you have contact area on the bottom of the handguard, and then you're pulling a little bit of the rifle into this, which is going to really stabilize that rifle a lot. Shooter ready? Beep! Good. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed our barricade drills. Clearly, there's a lot more to being able to shoot off a barricade well. We just wanted to touch on the concept of grounding your rifle and grounding yourself in order to stabilize to the fullest potential at which the barricade is going to allow you. Don't forget to like and share on all the Facebooks and YouTubes. #
Flex your second.
Flex your second. And so on and so forth. Oh, and one other thing real quick. One very important thing to know about shooting any kind of style across the board, you can always do it better with a beard.
Stand by one.
Nice. Barricade with the rifle. Now clearly, what's so funny? What's so funny? What's so funny?
That.
I know. Yeah, that is funny.